Well, my name is, I came into the internet with my actual name. My name is Joseph Escobar. I live in the West Coast of the US, originally from Panama. I recently had a daughter. She's a year and a half years old. So she's like keeping me on my toes right now. I am a Web3, crypto enthusiast. I see a lot of potential in this new emerging industry. I see so many facets that people can fit in and provide products and services from
Mhm.
content creating like you're doing right now to actually developing protocols and whatnot. I'm also a founder of a company in the real world, so I have business experience. I've started that company at the very bottom with like $12,000, and it's a 10-year-old company now. I think that most
Crazy.
people, yeah, most people make it 10 months. Business is difficult, and you got to really apply yourself.
Mhm.
Everything is possible. Everybody's capable. It just depends how much energy you put into it, how dedicated you are, if it's your passion, so it's not considered, work. And that's what we're doing here in Web3 as well. I founded this company called Better Web3, which is about adoption, retention, and loss prevention. I know that's
Mhm.
kind of broad, but those are the three main components that I think will make a company sustainable in this, attention economy. And I'm excited to, push in this space product market fit to solve problems and in cases also meet wants. It's not all about needs. Sometimes there's also a facet for wants. So just super stoked to it. And thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for being here. And you mentioned your company, Better Webs, and just kind of like how even we met in the crypto world. So let's kind of like start there. So like, what originally got you into crypto? And let's kind of dive into what Better Web 3 is.
Absolutely. I mean, what got me into crypto? I think that I wouldn't say victim, but a victim of COVID, victim
Mhm.
of being inside. COVID obviously affected us globally. And with COVID came a lot of being in social media and looking at your phone a lot. And I think that
Mhm.
Robinhood really tapped into that. And then that was my very first start. I downloaded Robinhood, started messing around with like trading
Mhm.
stuff, and went into the rabbit hole of Dogecoin and that whole thing, right? So then randomly, I watched a YouTube video for a crypto influencer at that time. He was a Cardano influencer. I won't
Mhm.
mention his name because he's not around, and I think he has like receded into his privacy. This space
Mhm.
can be really aggressive at times.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I saw one of his videos and I went and minted my very first NFT using Yoroi. Shout out to Yoroi. They're making a comeback. They've restructured the whole platform. It's awesome. Their whole wallet, I mean, is awesome. So I minted my first NFT, went into my first community on Discord. I was a Discord rat for a while. Shout outs to Cardano Crocs Club. Now is Crypto Crocs Club, and I feel like I was spoiled. That was my very first experience. 2.5 years later, they're still around. They're building. They're going cross chain and all this other stuff. So I came into a great community, met a lot of people, a lot of friends that to this day I'm friends with, and because I came into a good project that it wasn't like a rug pull,
Yeah.
then I had I got this like good experience, right? And ultimately because of it, it retained me, and then went to crypto Twitter. And then that blew my mind because in Twitter, you're getting information
Immediately.
as it's happening. You know what I mean? So then, you become associated with like you create groups and friends and the cabals or the alliances, whatever you want to call it. And then it's really difficult to leave because you make all these friendships, you know what I mean? That are just as real as your friends in the real world. So that's how I came into the space. And then naturally, I think that I'm like entrepreneur type I have entrepreneur inclinations.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned, I own a business in the real world that I've dedicated 10 years to. I've won multiple awards in that industry. So, I identified some of the same common denominators in this industry, which is low barrier of entry, new emerging industry, and there's a lot of needs and wants to be met. So I started working on a product that a lot of people know me for. It's called Ruggable, which is a secondary value proposition to
Mhm.
otherwise undesirable digital assets. And then, yeah, exactly. And it's coming, bro. Like, I appreciate everybody that supported me this far. And
Mhm.
I've actually like then I realized that there was many other things that I could also bring to the space. So I restructured the company from that single product to what we now know
Mhm.
as Better Web3, as an adoption, retention, and loss prevention company. I'm self-funded. as an entrepreneur, when you're not financially able to fund your own venture, you reach for funding and so on. You raise funds. And my original venture was invested in, and that's what now has created a little bit of a financial position for me to fund myself in Web3. So yeah, instead of doing a mint or a token or something, and then have the social pressures or the holder pressures, you know how that gets. Price go up, otherwise you're the enemy. I've been self-funding it. I've been self-funding it because I don't want to squander the opportunity that we have at hand. So now we have better Web3. I have spent 2 years, conceptualizing, developing, and hopefully soon, implementing the very first, alpha or MVP sort of thing. And, bringing all the partners that I've met over time and I've made, and really trying to provide some value for the space, for, the niches that I've identified. So
Awesome. That makes perfect sense for you because even since we've met originally, you've always been like a champion of the people, even when like you're calling out things and people aren't happy you're calling out things. You're always been someone to say, like, hey, just using my experience, not saying that it won't work, but these are some red flags that I'm seeing just to, protect people. And, some projects have done well even though there were some red flags, and some, were exactly what you said. And so I remember with Ruggable, also shout out to Sergeant. I remember you two were doing that together. Man, I'm trying to think of, I think it was like my crypto rhino I threw in there. And, I was like, oh, I got a
I
diamond.
probably have it. It's still in that wallet for sure. Yeah, no, Sergeant Crypto, shout outs to him. We happen to live
Hmm.
in the same state in the US. What were the odds, right?
Yeah.
He's actually coming to the city that I live, and we've hung out in the real world. And then when I went to NFT XLV in Vegas, we hung out again. So,
Hmm.
we were working originally on a company, Ruggable, right? And we used to do the Friday follow up together, which was an every Friday Twitter space where we followed up with companies that had already launched projects. I keep saying companies because I see everything as like actual business, but
They are.
exactly,
Yeah.
sometimes the semantics of like calling it a project, it's like flexible
Mhm.
liability as like a company. But yeah, so we used to do Friday follow up every Friday, following up on projects that had already like launched and where they were at, and their deliverables and stuff like that.